Magnus Carlsen, a vibrant chess prodigy, debuted at the age of 13, already displaying an astonishing talent that defied his years. His remarkable achievements and strategic brilliance earned his claim as a potential future chess legend. Born November 30th, 1990, Magnus's meteoric rise in the chess world began with his Grandmaster title, making him one of the youngest Grandmasters in chess history. But destiny had something remarkable in store for the young prodigy, as he found himself facing off against a chess legend. Garry Kasparov, a name that resonates throughout chess history, is widely regarded as the greatest chess player of all time. From the Soviet Union, Garry's reign at the top spanned decades. His fierce and unyielding approach to the game earned him the title of World Chess Champion and numerous tournament victories. Garry is the essence of a chess titan with a peak rating of 2,856. His competitive spirit is unmatched. As these two chess prodigies prepared to cross paths, the world awaited a spectacle that would pit the brilliance of a young genius against the mastery of a chess legend. The game commences with Magnus playing pawn to d4, and Kasparov responds with a queen's pawn opening. Magnus advances his next pawn to c4, immediately posing a threat to the black pawn. Kasparov counters with a pawn to c6, known as the Slav defense, commonly used as a counter to the queen's gambit. As they develop their pieces, Kasparov moves his knight to d7, leading to a queen's gambit decline. Magnus moves his pawn to e3, attempting to strengthen his dominance of the central squares, which is imperative in chess strategy. Kasparov's queen move to a5 pins the knight on c3, forcing Magnus to defend by shifting his other knight to d2, slightly weakening its influence on the center. Kasparov reinforces the pin by moving his bishop to b4, prompting Magnus to defend his knights with queen to c2. Both players castle, and with both kings safely behind their defenses, Garry begins to launch his attack. He plays pawn to d4, capturing Magnus's pawn and claiming control of the center. Magnus counters with knight to b3, executing a beautiful fork on the queen and pawn, compelling Kasparov to retreat and reclaim the center with a pawn of his own. Trading continues in the center, allowing Magnus to position his bishop strongly on c4. Both players are somewhat even, but the clock is ticking away. Kasparov retreats his queen to c7, and Magnus activates his rook. Kasparov advances his kingside pawn to h6, allowing Magnus's bishop on g5. The retreat forces Magnus to move his bishop backward, and Kasparov responds by shifting the bishop to d6. This leaves Magnus's king in a precarious position, vulnerable to a potential checkmate if Kasparov can maneuver his queen to h2. But Magnus responds quickly, pushing his kingside pawn to h3, creating breathing room and adding intrigue to the game. A few moves later, Kasparov's bishop checks Magnus's king. Magnus is forced to move without capturing due to the direct threat from the queen. Kasparov's knight moves in front of his queen, allowing Magnus to capture the bishop and trade pieces. 13-year-old Magnus Carlsen seizes the opportunity, moving his queen to c5 and mobilizing several pieces to attack c6. The black pawn is now vulnerable for an attack. The exchange of pieces continues, with Carlsen gaining an advantage, coming out a piece ahead. He also threatens to trade his knight for Kasparov's rook on d8, forcing Kasparov to withdraw his rook. Carlsen adopts a strong and aggressive stance against the reigning world champion, adding to the game's suspense. Kasparov's queen moves to g6, threatening a check on Magnus's king. Magnus blocks with his queen, offering a queen trade. Kasparov accepts, gaining a small advantage due to Magnus now having double pawns on the g-file. Kasparov attacks Magnus's backline, moving his rook to e1 and offering a trade. The game approaches its end, with Magnus holding a one-pawn advantage over the world champion. The intense struggle continues, with both players delivering checks and playing accurate moves, leaving no room for errors. Magnus's rook moves to h1, checking and widening his advantage to nearly 2 pawns. Kasparov counters by moving his rook to b2, threatening to win a pawn and forcing Magnus's king back to g3 for defense. A few moves later, a draw seems likely, as neither one can land a finishing blow on the other. Both players agree to a draw, marking a truly remarkable achievement for Magnus Carlsen. He demonstrates that even at 13 years, he can match the rank 1 world champion, Garry Kasparov, move for move.